GB News has once again grabbed headlines, this time after Charlie Mullins delivered a brutal takedown of Angela Rayner's so-called working-class image, calling the Labour Party nothing more than a gathering of imposters during a fiery on-clash. British politics like this one. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Dark British. Believe it or not, over 98% of viewers watch our content without hitting the follow button. Subscribing is completely free. The outspoken boss of Pimlico Plumbers didn't hold back. He accused Deputy Prime Minister Rayner of faking her working-class roots, slamming Labour's leadership as being out of touch with the real struggles of ordinary British people. Mullins stood his ground, branding Rayner a fraud and arguing that MPs should be people who've genuinely faced hardship, people who've climbed from the bottom with no shortcuts. When Labour supporters pushed back, pointing out that many of their MPs never went to private schools, Mullins didn't blink. They've never had to fight to change their lives. He said they don't know what real sacrifice looks like. In just a few sharp sentences, Mullins tore through the image Labour has worked so hard to build, exposing what he described as a political performance built on polished stories and half-truths. Watch the full clip for yourself.
Good to see you, Charlie. Thanks so much for joining us. Right, OK, you've seen what Danny Dyer's had to say about the state of our politicians, that they're all posh. We need more working-class people in control of the country. What do you make of it?
Undoubtedly, it's right there. As you know, politicians that come from sort of very upper class, they've not had the life experience, they've not had the lows, they've not been poor basically, and have not worked their way to the top. I mean, I've been working class all my life, come from nothing and worked my way to the top. I'm still working class, and I think the value of it is the life experience you get from it. Obviously, I think these days it's not as important like the class distinction thing, perhaps as 30 years ago, but undoubtedly we need more working class, more practical people in politics, more people with common sense and people that can make decisions. And more so that if somebody comes from a very working class background and is working class, they understand the lower side of things in life, which unfortunately politicians don't have a clue about.
Charlie, it is actually a fact that we have the most working class government that we've had for a long, long time, if not ever at the moment. I think it's only 2% of the current Labour cabinet actually were privately educated. So that compares sort of like, you know, they are mostly working class, and including the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, who I think even you would agree is the very definition of working class.
Well, you say that, but you know, everybody has different meanings of working class. I mean, I don't think Angela Rayner comes from, you know, a very, very poor background, struggled all her life. Yes, she may come from a council estate, but you know, that doesn't make you working class. I mean, you know, she may have gone to university. Does that make you still working class? I believe proper working class are people that have come from a very bad background, they've started with nothing and they've worked their way through life and they've experienced all the life things. But I don't think any of the Labour Party I would class as proper working class. And, you know, if anything, I mean, you know, it'd be good if half of them just had a proper job. You know, they never had a proper job, or where you have to struggle or think for yourself. So I don't think none of the Labour Party are working class. And that's the point Danny Dyer's making. You know, that's why we're in a mess, because you've got people that are in politics, people don't like them, and you know, they're pretending to be working class. And that's a fine example of it. I mean,
OK, Charlie, what about this one then? So Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage, OK, both incredibly popular with the working class voters, with the Red Wall, etc. But both of them privately educated, good university education. I mean, they're the definition of posh, but they're very popular with working class voters.
OK, yeah, because they understand it. You know, all of a sudden they've obviously looked into it properly and they've not got their nose stuck up in the air, and they understand, you know, the values of working class people and the importance of them. But these other posh people and that, they just look down on as if they're no value. That's why Nigel and Boris are popular, because they're people's people and they get it. You don't have to be working class to get it, but you've got to have some sort of humanity about you, knowing that, you know, the value of working class people. Many rich people I know come from working class backgrounds. They'll never retire. They keep, like myself, keep forming more companies, because we've had it very poor, we've had it very low in their life, and we don't want to go back to that. So the fact that Nigel and Boris understand working class people, that's a big plus for them.
Okay, so it's not about how much money you've got. You can be you can be a millionaire like yourself and still be working class, like David Beckham, for example, still working class. But is it about education? Is it about how you talk? I mean, if you talk posh, can you still be working class?
Well, obviously, it's many people perceive it in different ways. You know, if you talk like me, then you can't be middle class or upper class. I mean, I think we make too much of the class sort of distinction things. But yeah, people go by education, how you talk, what area you lived in, how much money you got. But that doesn't make you. It doesn't make you upper class. It doesn't make you. If you're working class, you're working class.
What did you think of that moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Now, on to another explosive moment that's got the whole nation talking. GB. News descended into chaos after a heated exchange between Emily Carver and an economist, defending Labour's crumbling economic record. What began as a routine discussion quickly turned into a full-blown televised showdown. Jonathan Portes, speaking in support of Keir Starmer's leadership, casually brushed off the real financial crisis gripping the country: skyrocketing prices, rising unemployment, and the daily struggles of ordinary families. But Emily Carver wasn't about to let it slide. She called out his smugness live on air, seizing on his patronizing remark. "You know that, don't you?" Her sharp reply, "You're being smug," hit hard. Portes, clearly caught off guard, reluctantly admitted to the sarcastic tone, but instead of backing down, he doubled down, rambling, deflecting, and dragging the conversation into total chaos. The segment spiraled quickly. What Labour likely hoped would be a moment of reassurance turned into a national embarrassment. Their usual diversion tactics were laid bare, and Portes looked completely out of his depth. Watch the clip for yourself and decide, was it arrogance or desperation? And more importantly, who do you think truly speaks for working people?
What does the government need to do, in your opinion, to try and get that going? Because they promised this is the government of growth, growth, growth.
Well, that's right. And to be fair to the government, their inheritance was pretty awful. As I said, 15 years essentially of no growth in real wages.
Has it got worse though, Jonathan? Because it looks like it's got worse on those key factors.
No, that's quite wrong, right? I mean, real wages are growing quite healthily at the moment. Real wage growth is significantly ahead of inflation. That's the point, right? And real wages have grown by about 2% over the last year.
Unemployment's up.
But that's because inactivity has fallen. You know that, right? I mean,
and also because of national insurance hikes, which is why, Jonathan, you're very patronising, Jonathan. When you come on, I appreciate talking to you, and I appreciate you coming on, but sometimes you know that, right? A little bit sarky, don't you think?
Yes, but I mean, we need to get the facts right. So, for example, the latest figures, which came out on Thursday, did indeed show that unemployment was up, but they also showed that employment was up. In other words, the average rate at which people had jobs was slightly up, because inactivity, the number of people who are out of the workforce because they're, for example, sick or disabled, had fallen rather slightly more, and we know that's been a big problem since the pandemic. So I think we need to be a bit balanced in this. As I said, the government faces a real set of challenges, and you're quite right. Growth needs to be the priority, and the government needs to deliver on its promises here. But equally, we shouldn't pretend that things are somehow got worse over the last year compared to what's happened over the last 15 years, because that's simply not what the data shows.
Has anything got worse? Has anything got worse in your view since Labour came into power? Because there have been a lot of economic decisions made.
Well, it's certainly true that taxes have gone up, and that was absolutely, unfortunately, necessary to fill the fiscal hole led by the previous government. And unfortunately, taxes will almost certainly have to go up again this October.
But do we risk not getting the rewards from that, though? Because national insurance hikes, it's a tax on jobs, isn't it? So businesses less likely to hire and grow, potential job losses, then you get less in tax receipts. The non-dom changes, again, there's been a partial U-turn on that, but you then end up with millionaires and billionaires potentially moving their assets and etc. and business deals and everything else to different countries. So then you lose tax as a result of that. The VAT on private school fees, we've seen quite a few private schools close. So is that really helping the state of things when you just have more kids in the state sector? I mean, these choices, they're not just as simple as you put taxes up, you get more taxes.
Well, in general, they are as simple. For most things, it is actually that simple, right? The rise in national insurance has certainly led to us having more tax revenue to pay for public services. There's no doubt about that. Equally, the VAT on, right, we don't know yet what the long-term impacts are, but so far the effects of that seem to be pretty marginal. Most in the effect has certainly been to increase tax revenues. It's a bit harder with non-doms, again, because we don't yet know what's happening. We don't yet know how many people are leaving. But you're right, these are difficult choices. But nonetheless, the government does have to raise tax revenue in order to pay for public services. There is, I think, a general agreement that the austerity has damaged public services quite significantly. People want to see better schools and hospitals, and the money for that has to come from somewhere. And ultimately, it has to come from us. It has to come from you and me, people who pay taxes.
Jonathan, I wonder if well, this is the worry. I feel like it's going to be middle England, as it were, middle earners, the middle classes who are going to have to cough up more, working class people as well. Because, and I don't know, do you believe these statistics, 16,500 millionaires leaving the country this year?
No, I don't. I think those are entirely, they're basically back of, not even back of the envelope. They're, from a slightly ropey survey by a wealth management firm. Now,
do you think any millionaires have left? Do you think we've had a net gain of millionaires or a net loss of millionaires?
Well, I mean, you can equally, there was actually a story in the papers the other day about how some millionaires are indeed moving to the UK to escape Trump. Again, I would personally take that as with a pinch of salt, because I don't tend to believe these anecdotal stories about the odd millionaire leaving or the odd millionaire coming. It's not, we shouldn't take it too seriously. We have to look at the data when we actually get hard data from HMRC on how much tax is coming in and how many of the non-noms are.
I've got a feeling it might show that quite a lot of these people who pay a tremendous amount of tax have actually decided to go elsewhere for a number of reasons, to be fair.
What do you think? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Burning Core, for more hard-hitting videos, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.